Megan, we're beginning the 2021 school year.
Yeah.
And students, faculty, staff, our community, we've been away for almost 2 years. And it's been a remarkable 2 years. Reflect a little bit on what kind of experiences people have had, what kind of traumas, what kind of losses people have had, and what it means to come back together in 2021.
Yeah, people have experienced a lot. So our students adapted from learning in person to learning online, moving back home, some of them back home in with their parents, finding ways to be in the classroom, in makeshift ways at their home environments. We've had instructors adapt to learning how to teach online just in a moment, and they did just such an incredible job, like over the course of such a short period of time, learning to instruct online, and all of our staff and other folks who support students on campus adapting to. So we had this incredible transition, and then everything else that happened over the last 2 years. So incredible amounts of loss, grief, people losing friends and family members to the pandemic.
What are students struggling with the most? As you talk to students now, these students now in 2021, what are they struggling with, and what's the role of resilience and compassion in their lives now?
So let's start with what students are struggling with. We know students are struggling with the essentials: some anxiety, some stress, some depression, political unrest, systemic racism, global pandemic, and the different issues that we've been contending with in the last year. So we've seen rates of depression and stress and anxiety increase. We've seen the utilization of the counseling center increase last year, not just among undergraduate students, but graduate students too.
So the work of resilience and the work of the Resilience Lab is important in light of that.
That's right. That's one of the ways that we think about the Resilience Lab, is how do we take the burden away from just direct services, so that burden isn't directly on mental health services, but rather kind of like spread the responsibility for creating a culture of well-being across all the folks who create our communities. And in terms of the question around so what's the role of resilience and compassion? When I think of those words in relationship to each other, I think of compassion as a way of building resilience. Resilience as a way of coping with stress. So we experience a stressor stimulus and we want to be resilient to it. We want to be able to have that bounce back ability, or that ability to return to a place where we're healthy and well in our response to it. And compassion, directed toward oneself or directed toward other people, is a way of building that resilience. So in the way that we cope with stress or address stress, we're wanting to address it with compassion. And so as we come back together, it's well, how can I be compassionate toward myself in returning to campus this fall? I'm a mom, I'm a parent, right? I'm running a unit at here at the university. I'm just as everybody else. I'm also weathering this transition back to campus, and I want to be compassionate with myself as I do so. And it's also meaningful for me when my colleagues are compassionate toward me and when I'm compassionate toward others.
These are such interesting concepts, Megan. We are a public research university, and there are those who have said, gosh, concepts like compassion and the University of Washington and a research university, those are strange bedfellows. But you've actually found that they actually go hand in hand.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So we can look at all sorts of research on the benefits of different resilience coping skills, the benefits of mindfulness, the benefits of compassion and self-compassion, the benefits of growth mindset, of gratitude. All of these things have a research basis, and they do belong in the Research One institution.
Megan, I've noticed that lots of students are anxious, really anxious, like never before, about getting into the university. But then once they get in, I find that anxiety doesn't lower. The students remain anxious. What are they anxious about? And what do we say to students to allow them to experience their university education, to fail forward if they need to, but to put less pressure to be perfect?
Yeah, students are anxious about a variety of different issues. They might be anxious about different academic pressures, about getting into their major. They might be anxious about some of the responsibilities that they have back home, or financial issues. So there's a variety of different stressors that students are experiencing, or a confluence of stressors that students are experiencing.
I want to talk about this idea of failing forward. We're a university that really values excellence and expertise and high performance. But yet we've created this concept of failing forward. Do you really believe that students should be learning to fail and learning to be resilient? Let's talk about that concept and what it's meant to do.
Yeah, so this idea of failing forward, I absolutely think that students need to learn how to fail in a way where they can fail, let's say, effectively, where they can fail and still have that resilience that bounce back and be able to continue moving forward. And so we don't want students to experience their first failure and give up, or experience it and feel defeated, but rather feel like they can keep going. It's about applying that kind of growth mindset attitude and applying the self-compassion. And so this idea of failing forward, it's like, how do you cope with stress effectively? If the stressor is that you fail a midterm, are you able to cope with that in a way and continue moving forward and not move into a place where you're unable to proceed in an effective way, but rather can keep going?
Okay, so we're a big public university, and oftentimes people associate big campuses with being unfriendly places. But you and I have been in conversations about this notion of a compassionate university, a compassionate campus. What does that mean, and what does that look like? What's your vision for a compassionate university?
Yeah, I have a vision for a compassionate university.
Tell us.
I think about the ways in which we can bring compassion or fold compassion into all these different layers of the system, starting with ourself, this idea of self-compassion. And then the compassion that we can extend toward each other interpersonally, right? The compassion that I can extend to you, that you can extend to me, that I can extend to the students who are on my team. And then the compassion that we can extend kind of like in our divisions or units as a whole. And then the ways in which we can think about our policies, our practices, the decisions that we're making, and ask ourselves, are those decisions, are those policies, are those practices, are they compassionate? One example, I think of our university registrar. And at the beginning of the pandemic, she looked at the policies around dropping a class, which is something that students may have needed to do at the beginning of the pandemic. And she looked at her policies and she decided to change them in a way that was more trauma-informed and more compassionate. So just thinking about can we all envision looking at the scope of our work and shifting it in a way that it would extend more compassion. Compassion being recognizing the suffering of ourselves and other people and having a deep desire to relieve that suffering.
So if we strive to become a compassionate university, and I'm a faculty member or staff or a student or a visitor to the campus, how do I know it when I see it? How do we know that we've reached that place?
Yeah. I've been asking students the question of how do you know your instructor cares for you? That's one way, right? When a student feels like they're cared for, when their whole self is cared for, there's all sorts of different experiences students are walking in with right now. And if that student can feel like their whole self is welcome into that learning environment, is nurtured, is cared for, to me, that's a compassionate example of a compassionate university.
You created a guidebook for faculty, along with faculty. Talk a bit about that guidebook, what it does, and what some of the tips are that you provide in that guidebook.
Yeah. So we began to ask the question, what's the role of instructors in helping create a culture of well-being at the UW? And thinking specifically about the instructor's role, they have this incredible opportunity in their classroom to show students that they care, to support the whole student. And in doing so, support student well-being, student mental health. And so we set out to create a framework that would help instructors think about what is it that they could do in their role as instructors to support students along these lines. And we took all that data to create this guidebook that we hope to distribute across campus. Folks can find it online digitally. They can request a hard copy. Yeah.
I suspect that a goal that you have, Megan, is that students learn these skills and mindsets, and that they take them with them into their lives as they leave the university, and then become really thoughtful, mindful citizens of our world.
Well, our idea in the Resilience Lab is that we can teach students these skills and mindsets so that they can be successful here as students, so that we can support their mental health and well-being. And then as they transition into their careers, they can be ready to go, ready to be whole people within their careers and have the types of emotional intelligence and interpersonal effectiveness that's required of working in the world right now and of being good people, being good citizens.
Megan, you're doing remarkable work, and I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful to be a partner with you in this work.
Thanks, Ed.